website. It is April 19th, 2023. The time is 6:32 p.m. Meeting is now called to order. Our mission is to provide a safe and caring climate and culture in which we engage, inspire, educate, prepare, and empower all learners in partnership with their surrounding community to be successful in today's and tomorrow's society. Mr. Dorholt, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then can you please call roll?
I can. The following board members, I believe, are present at the District Administration Office. Scott Andresen,
Here.
Natalie Copeland,
Here.
Al Dahlgren,
Here.
Zach Dorholt is here, Shannon Haas.
Here.
Heather Weems.
Here.
And the following board members not currently present, Monica Shigera-Swartz. The following cabinet members and staff are present at the District Administration Office. Superintendent Dr. Lori Putnam, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education Kay Nelson, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education Dr. Mike Rivard, Executive Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations Tracy Flynn Bowe, Director of Equity Services Ian Omar, Executive Director of Research Assessments and Enrollment Don Roper, Executive Director of Operations Gary Ganchi, Director of Innovation and Instructional Technology Ryan Cox, Media Technicians Paul Novak and Gordy Scott, Custodian on site is Steve Hain. The following cabinet members and staff are virtually present. Director of Community Engagement and Communications Tammy DeLand, Executive Education Adam Holm, Executive Director of Finance and Business Services Amy Scalrud, Executive Assistant Jan McGuire.
Thank you. Then I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's Board of Education meeting agenda.
So move.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Scott, a second by Natalie. Zach, can you call vote?
Okay, and Scott Andresen,
Yes.
Natalie Copeland,
Yes.
Al Dahlgren. Yes. Zach Dorholtz, yes. Shannon Haas.
Yes.
And Heather Weems.
Yes.
Okay, then we have the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of non-controversial items that the board adopts routinely without debate. Any single member may remove an item from the consent agenda by requesting removal at the time the consent agenda is moved for adoption. On tonight's consent agenda, item A, approval of minutes from March 1st, 2023 and March 15th, 2023. Item B, approval of bills and other financial transactions in the grand total amount of $5,725,655.20. Item C, approval of personnel staff changes. Item D, acceptance of grant awards and donations. Item E, quarterly expenditures for board members. And item F, Board Policy 102, Equal Education Opportunity. At this time, does any board member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Scott, a second by Zach. Zach, can you call vote again?
Natalie Copeland,
Yes.
Al Dahlgren.
Yes.
Zach Dorholtz, yes. Shannon Haas.
Yes.
Heather Weems.
Yes.
Scott Andresen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to informational items tonight, we have two of them. First up, we have the graduation and celebratory events and plans, and Kay Nelson, Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education, has with her tonight our assistant principals. Apollo is Laura Fries, and Tech is Molly Kenzie. Welcome, excited to hear the great activities, and we'll let the record show that Monica Shigera-Swartz has now joined us.
Oh, I think Ryan has them on.
Ryan has one. Really close. Okay.
Oh, boy.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Perfect. All right, so tonight we are going to just discuss with you the upcoming celebrations that we have this spring for our high school students. So our goal is always to partner with students, families, and staff to create celebrations that really meet their hopes and dreams as we wrap up their final school year. So today we're going to be just showcasing what will be taking place at all three high schools, so at Apollo, McKinley, and Tech. So to kick off some of our spring events, Tech will be having their prom on May 13th. So juniors and seniors are welcome. The Grand March will start at 7, and then it will go right into the dance, and the dance will end at 11 p.m.
Over at McKinley, their prom is May 19th, for all students and staff. It will run from 1 to 3 p.m. in the celebration of McKinley Panther community. Then over at Apollo, our prom is May 20th for both juniors and seniors. Grand March starts at 7 p.m. Prom follows immediately after the Grand March, and prom will end at 11. And then we also have an event honoring our American Indian celebration with our students, and that will take place here on May 25th. Seniors' last day is Tuesday, May 30th. On that day, all seniors will be turning in their devices. They'll get their cap and gown as well as their graduation tickets. And graduation rehearsal is scheduled for June 2nd at the Rivers Edge Convention Center. Tech's rehearsal will start at 11, and then Apollo's will start at 1 p.m.
And then on that following Saturday will be our ceremony. And so that'll be at Rivers Edge Convention Center, where we will have Tech starting off the graduation ceremony at 11, and Apollo's will be at 3:30. One of the events you'll probably notice that has been eliminated from our spring celebrations has been the parade. And so we met with our student voice groups at each site, and we took some surveys and information collected from them. And it seemed that it was something we really valued during COVID and really made that accommodation an attempt to celebrate them in a unique way. And since then, we've decided to remove it from our list of events.
Oh, that's me. Graduation celebration. The ceremony will last approximately an hour and 15 minutes. Within that ceremony, there's live music showcasing our band and choir kids, live speeches featuring senior speakers, the principal, student-selected faculty members, and the superintendent, awarding the individuals with diplomas, and then wrapping up with presenting the class of 2023. We will distribute 8 tickets per graduate, and that'll be done on May 30th when the students turn in their devices on the seniors' last day. Immediately following each ceremony, families will be asked to greet their graduate outside door A. Each ceremony will be live streamed for those who cannot attend in person, and no re-entry during the ceremony if individuals leave the building.
We've worked to communicate this with families in multiple ways. So starting early in March, we began our weekly emails that were translated to support all families. We've also showcased graduation events through our website and social media. We will be on our TV in early May. And then Hayan is the radio voice, where we will showcase or outreach to multiple audiences with the upcoming events and information they need to participate. Any questions from us? Yeah, Scott?
Adult basic ed, when is their graduation?
That is a great question. I do not know this exact date or specifics.
It's important.
It is important, and we will get that information out to you. This was designed to be a high school event, graduation, so we appreciate the question, and by no means were we intending to leave anybody out. Our high school assistant principals really wouldn't have, that wouldn't necessarily be inside their scope, but we will gladly get that information out. And I know it was presented last time when Adam and Community Ed came, but we'll remind everybody shortly.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's on
Wednesday,
our
May
calendar.
24th.
And-
Time.
Al?
I have one, it's been a long time since the graduation, so I don't have a crystal clear memory, but one of the things that has challenged me in the last few years has been this lockout that we do when graduation starts, and then we get to a certain point and we open the doors and let a whole bunch of people in. And I've always been a little troubled by it because there's a lot of people out there waiting to get in, and it's a pretty big disruption when those doors open, and I'm not complaining about the disruption, but I'm kind of wondering if we're handling it right, because, and I know we want people on there on time, we're trying to get away from disrupting the ceremony and the disruption that people coming in late causes, but for all of those people who get locked out, they're there much sooner than they get in. And this is like, it's a once in a lifetime event for them, and we're locking them out. And that's always bothered me, that they sit out there waiting to get in. And we don't know why. I mean, some of the people that are getting locked out, they could have some, they could be late because they were late. They could be late because they had a train was across the tracks and they couldn't get there. They could be late because they have a physical impairment and they had to park farther away than they anticipated. I mean, there's 1,000 different reasons to be late. And I don't know that we're really creating that much better of an environment by not letting them come in late. It's just, that's something that's bothered me.
I don't know that I have a perfect answer for that, but I do think we've tried to throw up on different signage the QR codes so that they can physically watch outside the door, so that when we do open up and allow them to enter, it's not a disruption. And we try to synchronize the band to also play at that time so that it's quick and keeps things moving. But I think out of respect for the people that are in that space and the students, we really want them to be able to hear and honor their students' names being called. And so as we work through the programming piece, I think it's something that we always try to consider and try to figure out the best way to support when and how that entrance happens.
Doesn't this usually happens before the names are being called?
Yep.
I mean,
So
the
they
big disruption is usually, it's like we close the doors and lock them, and then we start the program, and we go through a whole bunch of different things, and then it gets to a certain point where we open the doors again and have that disruption before we read names.
Yes. Yeah, so they usually end up missing out on the speakers. So student speakers, faculty speaker, superintendent. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how other people
They
feel
can
about it.
live stream
It's always bothered
Yes.
me. Because these people are, I mean, their kids are just as important as the other ones, and I know they were late, and shame on them for being late, but it's just a once in a lifetime deal. You know, your kid graduates once.
I wanted to thank you for the presentation and for including McKinley in the presentation, and also for the American Indian Student Celebration that I think that we did it last year. I'm not sure that we have been doing it for a while, but I don't, have we?
We included McKinley last year, and now we were able to have the information on the Native American celebration. And so we were able to include that this year early enough.
And we did it last year too.
We didn't have it specifically. We had McKinley last year.
No, the American Indian.
Yes.
We did.
We had the celebration last year too, but we didn't have the
But that's the
information.
drummers one, right? Yeah, I do remember finding out about it like a little later. So thank you so much for it. I really appreciate that, and yeah, I like to have those dates send that to us, please,
Yes, it's busy.
because I did not get to take the notes. I do want to follow up with Al's comment. So I agree with Al in that, and I understand that there is not a perfect middle there. So is that when do parents are told to be there? Like with how long time in advance? Like not when do you tell them, but do you tell that? How do you explain that arrival to parents? Are they being explained that they have to be there? I don't know, half an hour before, or how does it work?
Yeah, we are sending out communication. We started sending it out on last week, on Monday. And as we get closer to the event, so starting the beginning of May, we'll start with the details of times, and we'll communicate that in all the languages. So they'll get messages several times before the actual event on exact times when the doors open, when the graduates need to arrive, and when the doors will close. It's also on the ticket, I believe. So when our graduates on May 30th, when they get their 8 graduation tickets, all those details are on the ticket as well. The time the door opens, the time the door closes, when the graduates have to be there, all those details are also printed on the ticket, in addition to the messaging that'll go out prior to the actual graduation date.
So people that arrive late, they already know that the door is going to be closed and that it will be open at certain other time?
You're saying, so they,
Like if I'm a parent and if I'm gonna be late and I just got there when the close was closed, do I know that? Do I know that that door was going to be closed there and that they're going to be opening like in that break that you open it?
so they know the initial closing. We can't predict the exact time because it'll vary just on the ebb
When
and
the door
flow
will
of
open,
when the
yeah.
door will open. Because we, like Al said, we open it right after those speeches, right before the names are
But
called.
they will know that. They will know that the door will be closed for the speeches and that there will be a second time that they are open, that the door is open. They know that in advance?
We haven't communicated that previously. They do know
They
that they
do know
close,
the doors.
yes.
And is there a lot of people that usually are out? Do you have any sense? Anybody has any sense of how, do you have any sense?
There was a lot of people. Yeah. It's like, I would guess 100 plus that are late, that get locked out. It's a lot of people. Because it's a big disruption when those doors do open.
As a parent going myself, I understand that when you get there, you just can't quick park and run in like you're going to the grocery store. It's like, where do you park? Oh my gosh, this is way farther. You're driving around the ramp or you're parking blocks away, and where's the entrance and now the walk time? And, I've done it multiple times, completely underestimate the time from getting there. Oh, it's a 10-minute drive, but then it's a 10 to 15-minute production to get my car parked and get in there.
So I can tell you that as a person that I'm always very on time, as you have noticed. I'm an expert. I have a good excuse today. I'll tell you later. 'Cause today it was a good excuse. Really. If you, I don't do all the math that Shannon just said. If you tell me that it's at 8 and I'll be 5 before 8 in the parking lot, if I'm lucky, and not 8 at the parking lot. So when she says that all that industrial thing that happens, yes, I don't calculate that. It will be really helpful, and it has helped me in other events. When they tell me no other event, you have to be here by this time, and this time is half an hour before the event starts. And this is when they tell me, this is the time that you need to be here. And then sometimes they have the program, okay, usually there is social or something like that, and then the program starts at this other time, because I know that probably Al will be there earlier, and he also needs to know that you're not telling him to come half an hour earlier, right? But those cues are very useful, and I will ask you to maybe think about those cues, and to let people know if you get here by this time, the doors will be closed, and then they will be open after the speakers. It is very disruptive though, still, to get people in at that moment. But I don't know if there is any way to, I don't know, in other brainstorming that I'm doing right now, to have like and part, like, I don't know, the part in the trenches where you need to see if you can be late in the same place. But that would be just either that. Never mind, I didn't say this. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with Al too. And as someone who has a child that's going to play in the band, I really want to hear it. So it's a little bit disrespectful, I think, to the band to have them come in. And, we can't do anything about the past, right? So if we can just revisit that for the future, going to so many events over the last years at our high schools, we don't set that precedent either. So, it seems unlike us to do that. So I think that'd be great too, to see what happens if we don't have the lockout, and we can always reinstate it if we need to, but it seems a little bit unlike us.
So I can tell you that this was a change that was made during Willie's tenure, because it happens, it's a practice that is common at graduations. And I actually think that it's not during the band, I don't believe that we let them in, it's the late people.
Oh,
It's during the video, when we play the video twice, asking people to refrain from applause while names are being read. And the change was made because we received so many concerns from families about the amount of disruption that was why that change was made. Would be happy to talk about it again as an administration. Like anything, right? There are consequences either way.
When we let one large group in, it's very noticeable than just one. All of a sudden, everybody's eyes are on this rush of people coming in. And is there any way we could have people not walk all the way up? Could we reserve some late arrival seating that's down low? It's climbing up the bleachers that gets loud.
And could it be controlled, how people access, or, down to one door and letting people in single file, not any door, anytime, people walking in?
Yep, it's that back door. There is a lower section. Typically, they're trying to find their families, and so it's that navigation of, right, no, stop, please go this way. And some have stepped out for various reasons and are waiting to come back in and return to sit with families. But we do have a reserved section, and we do try to communicate to those waiting in the hallway that is the ask, is that you come in quickly and sit off to the side. Mhm. Yeah.
Being told to use the microphone. I think we've made progress over the last year compared to the years prior. I think you answer most of my questions there. It's a tough either way.
Is there a way to just web stream and have a larger TV, a projector, some sort of TV just out in the lobby area for those who are waiting?
That's a good suggestion too. I know in the previous years, they've had a room reserved off in an area. What I think we've noticed is they typically, you have your cell phone, so everybody's kind of got their own personal component there. I know that we did discuss it at length the past couple of years and just ended up having that not be an option, just because of what people were saying as feedback, but I can follow up with the convention center to see if they have just a monitor that we can access and move in that area too. Thank you.
Appreciate all your work in this because you got opinions from every side. Don't let them in, let them in. All eyes are on you, so thanks for working through it. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Al, that's one more.
The reserve seating for staff is rarely ever filled. It's mostly empty seats all the way up, all the way through the ceremony, and it's the best seats in the house, of course. Is there some way we can shrink that down? And maybe think about splitting it front to back, not splitting it like the front half and the back half, so that those people who do arrive an hour and a half early so that they can get a really good seat can get right up front where they want to be. I mean, but I look at that every year, and it's kind of embarrassing to me because it's a lot of, it's really crowded behind that. It's completely full. And then there's this area up front that's reserved for staff, which the public won't understand. That's like, it's like the one thing that you don't do is reserve it for your own employees, but we do, and it's been explained to me why and all of those reasons. But when you have a whole bunch of seating, the best seating that's reserved for staff, and then it's empty, it just, to me, doesn't appear like, it's not the message that I would want to send to the families about the importance of the families. So that's one other thought.
We can add that to our next agenda. We're not quite through working out all the details yet for graduation, so we'll add that as an agenda item. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then we're moving on to our other information item tonight. We have the McKinley ALC school presentation. Joining us is Bill Sinninger, principal at McKinley ALC. Welcome, glad to have you.
Hi. 1 second here and I'll get it pulled up. Hi. Good evening. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here to talk about McKinley tonight. So we're going to start with our focus areas. We're going to talk about the things that we chose for our focus this year out of our bigger district strategic plan. Area 1 is our positive climate and culture, to integrate social emotional learning and supports, expand opportunities for student voice. The ways we've done that this year are through surveys, through student council activities, through our focus class, our student listening sessions, community interaction, and PBIS. A lot of those are typical throughout most of our schools in the district, and some of them are unique to us. Our focus area 2 is instruction that produces positive outcomes to ensure all instruction and programming are culturally relevant and engaging, and to maintain a systematic process to analyze all student needs based on data. We use, our monthly MTSS meetings. We have flexible learning checks, so we're constantly checking in with kids of where they're at. Our advisory credit checks, again, PBIS, climate committee, and currently we're testing all students' reading levels to see where they're at. And then our last focus area is family and community engagement, to create school-based connections that bring together families, educators, and communities, and create systems and procedures to provide access and opportunities for all students and families. And with that, we contact our families through Skyward, Schoology. We send postcards out of when we have our conferences, phone calls, advisory. We give out information to our students and families, student council, community learning, and we had our family barbecue. But I think McKinley's more than that, right? Those are our structural things that we have in place, right? The things that we do day to day to make sure that we're attending to all of that. But we have more in our community that we're trying to build. And so we will start with our video. Maybe.
To be engaged, to be inspired here at McKinley, it's not just kind of a school where you can just get your credits done. It'll also direct you into a path in life that you had no idea you've ever been interested in.
Hi, I'm Richard Chacolis. You are here at McKinley ALC, where we get our roar on. What does that mean? That means we're showing respect, optimism, achievement, and responsibility.
Being engaged to inspire means to me when you have the staff that encourage you to come to school, and they empower me because they tell me I can graduate and they see me going somewhere in the future.
Our students here at McKinley are engaged. We are a community relationship-based school. Students are getting chances on our community learning Fridays. They can go to the Paramount. There's board games, going to the VA. We also have chances for students to learn how to cook their own meal.
It's also a school that helps you, with whatever issue you have, whatever you're going through, it'll show you certain paths you can take. It's not just school, it's more of like a connection between the students and the teachers, and that's where that inspiration kind of comes from. It's more than just a school.
Here at McKinley, we are a family, and we are a business relationship school, meaning you are coming here to handle your business, but you are also bettering your relationship with staff and students.
Getting engaged here is super easy because all of the teachers are really eager to help shape their curriculum towards your needs. Besides the normal classes, there are tons of post-high school job exploration, and that's super inspiring because we get to go out into the world and get our hands dirty. I like the very personal atmosphere that all the faculty creates. Everyone knows each other. Everyone's super eager to help you get done.
So Mike, how do you engage and inspire students?
I have been a social studies teacher here at McKinley for over 25 years, and one of the activities that I've had a pleasure to take part in is Map Stars. And one of the events that we do here at McKinley is called Legislative Day. So I get to take students to the Minnesota State Capitol, and we meet with legislators and talk to them about issues that concern us here at school, in our district, and in our community.
Dan, how do you engage to inspire students?
Well, what we're doing here at McKinley, we're trying to connect not just the academic component, but also some community components with our curriculum. I do a geometry with CTE, doing the geometry and trying to relate woodworking to that geometry component. We've had some projects we built, benches and picnic tables and cribbage boards and some other projects that give students hands-on and actually using the machines that they probably wouldn't be able to get to use.
I engage students at McKinley by giving them unique experiences to engage in the community in which they live. They are able to, with these Community Friday learning, they're able to meet new people, learn about new artists in the community, and look at their artwork and be inspired. They also get to learn from community instructors, which give them a different look on different techniques that they could use that they might not get in the classroom.
How do you think the skills that you're demonstrating prepare them for their post-high school life?
I think the more you give opportunities to students to do stuff that they're not used to doing outside of their regular life, it gives them an opportunity to maybe find something that's really intriguing to them and maybe inspiring them to do something in the future.
Thank you, Dan.
How do you engage to inspire at McKinley?
I've really liked pottery since I was in art club in 7th and 8th grade. I chose pottery and I've been coming here for 3 trimesters. It's just been really interesting learning new things, creating a lot of great art like masks and pots and bowls.
Our teachers and our staff try to bring their loves, their passions outside of just what they teach, see something that maybe they've never thought of before. And our staff has really taken upon themselves to be the ones to kind of spearhead this. It really depends on all of them buying into this and trying to give our kids the best future they can get.
I am proud to be at McKinley ALC, and I think we are one of the coolest schools in the school district.
742 together.
Okay, so I talked about the nuts and bolts, kind of the stuff that we do, that a lot of schools do, and how we look at our data and all that. But what we're really trying to do this year is connect our kids to the community and the community to our kids. So we have our community learning days on Fridays. So our kids Monday through Thursday have their their normal schedule, their 6 classes that they're working on. On Friday morning, we do credit recovery because almost every kid at McKinley is behind on some sort of credit, and we're trying to get them caught back up. And then in the afternoon, we do community learning where we tie into our partners within our community in St. Cloud and beyond. So one of our things that we have going on is the Paramount. We have a group of kids that go over to the Paramount. They work with in-house artists to learn about pottery and other techniques. We got a grant through the Minnesota Art Board to pay for all of that. We have a group that goes to the VA. They've been doing this for years. We finally, a few weeks back, got to go back in and actually meet with vets and help them directly. Before, through COVID, we'd make gift bags and other things for them and try to brighten up their life in a way that we couldn't necessarily go into the building, right? But now that they've loosened that stuff up, our kids have gotten to go back in and work with those gentlemen and ladies to help brighten their day and learn from them. We have volunteering throughout our community. We have different projects that we've done, making tie blankets for some of our needy organizations around St. Cloud, and some other volunteering aspects for all our different kids to help the community that they live in and get to know people. We had a job fair at the beginning of the year. We worked with St. Cloud Career Resources and some other organizations to bring all these people in. And there are all sorts of businesses from high-end factory stuff to I think the people from Air Max were there, right? So our kids got to go around. It was really nice because it helped our kids not only start to understand what a job fair is, right, but learn those skills and the safety with us, right? So we had kids asking us like, what do I do? And we're like, we just go up to them and say, hey, tell me about your company. It's like you get to interview them to see if you want to work there, and they're going to pitch you and be like, hey, we want you to come work. And so getting to see that, maybe they'll get to go out in the world and have that skill already. We've gone to different places. This is Simonson Lumber, and gone tours so that they can see kind of what's out in the world and what's waiting for them. We've had some project-based learning within this, right? We saw Dan with the CT and geometry. They built this picnic table, did all the measurements, figured out all the geometry behind it, and then took that and then actually constructed something with it so they can see what the math they're learning is used for. Besides our community learning, we have some other stuff going on in our school. We have our flexible learning. These kids come for 3 hours either in the morning or the afternoon. They meet, their teachers are there, and they rotate into the room so that they have a chance. So at any point, there's 2 or 3 teachers in that program. And so like if there's a language arts teacher on this side and a math teacher on this side, but I already did my language arts this week, I got all caught up, I got what I needed done, I'm gonna go meet with the math teacher and get my help with him today. And so the stuff is there and they can kind of work at their own pace. It's an independent study with the teacher there helping them. But this allows some of our kids, after the pandemic, who are helping support their families or have jobs, still be able to help their families and be out there in the world, but still get their education and move forward with graduation. We also have our Panther Pathways. We have, I do believe, 6 kids right now over at the Tech College taking college level courses to better their future. The first one, our first cohort there is actually doing a class that's called Introduction to College, right? Because some of these kids wouldn't have that support at home, and they're getting it through us and through the college so that they can start to get there. So when they have the opportunity to go there, they know how to do their FAFSA stuff. They know how to do their enrollment. They know how to do a lot of the stuff that they maybe wouldn't know otherwise. So those kids that are 11th graders will progress on to different classes next year, and then we'll start another 11th grade group going over there. We have our recovery school that's funded through a grant. Kids that have gone through treatment and are dealing with substance abuse can come in. It's a one-room classroom. They're there all the day. Our teachers that work in the FLEX program also then support those kids. They use their curriculum and then because we have multiple teachers in that room, can move down there and help as they need. And we fluctuate between how many kids are in there. They have to stay clean to be in there. We have had kids that, for whatever reason, couldn't remain sober and so move into our normal program and we support them there. And some of them have gone back to treatment and gone back in. So how do we meet our goals? Our staff and teachers are huge. When I came on last year and I said, what do we need to do? Community was a huge thing for them. They suggested the different schedules so we could have a day where we work with our community, where we get to get skills that we don't necessarily teach every day in a school. And so our teachers put this model together, and then I helped grow it, but I couldn't do it without them, right? Like the teachers at the school are phenomenal. Our programs help our kids because we can match the kid to the program that they need for their support. Understanding that everyone's coming with a story, that everyone needs different support, that everyone needs different help, and then just the kindness of caring of the staff that are there is unbelievably great. These are our community partners that we've worked with this year. You can see Career Solutions, St. Cloud Tech, all over the place. Some have donated time, some have donated money, some have donated materials, knowledge, all that stuff. And it's really given our kids a chance to flourish and learn. And then who helps from the district office partnership? I don't want to list everyone off. I don't know that there's a person in this building that hasn't helped us. I mean, from superintendent all the way down. I am a person that will go out and find someone that's willing to do something for me. And so if you say, hey, I'd like to come over and do this, sure, come on over, let's do that. So if any of you ever want to come over and teach us something, come on over, I welcome you. That's what I got. Whatever questions you have, I'm willing to answer.
Okay. Scott and then Monica.
How are students chosen for McKinley School?
Well, I mean, chosen. So there's a list of criteria, right? And it's a long list. I mean, it could be behind on credits, it could be mental health issues, it could be a slew of things. Whatever their home school is, so we have our 2 high schools here, obviously, and then we have our partners that are part of our, I'm blanking on the word now. Our joint powers that can refer kids, right? They fill out the form. This is what they're behind. They send it to us. We review that, and there are times where we're like, this kid's only because we are full. Like our numbers are high. We're the largest ALC in Minnesota, and so there are times where it's like, well, this kid's only like 2 credits behind. We can get them that in night school or summer school, right? This kid's like a year behind. They'll probably come first. We also, if someone transfers into the district and they're coming straight from an ALC, they'll come into our ALC. If a kid is coming from treatment, like I said, with our recovery program, right, the treatment center will contact us and we'll get them into our recovery program.
Do we take kids from other districts?
We do take kids from other districts, but this year we're so full that we have to take our kids before we take the other ones. Now, part of our joint powers, yes, we still take, they're just like just like our high schools with our waiting list, right? We have a spot that opens, we look who's there and we move them in. If it's someone who would be out of our district, like Albany's not part of our joint powers, right? If they were like, hey, we need to send the kid, we have other kids waiting and we'd have to say, hey, like we got to deal with this first, so.
Okay, you spoke of focus classes. How's a focus class work?
So Focus is a class based around SEL, but really what it's teaching the kids is leadership, communication, how to interact with other people, right? Some of our kids come to us and they've struggled in school, right? They haven't learned how to communicate what they need, what their wants, all that stuff. They may be a leader, but no one's ever brought it out in them. And so our teacher works on different things to talk about everything from, just how body language affects your communication, right? And your tone, your intonation. It's not just your words, it's how you say them. Today he was working around Simon Sinek, if you know who that is. He's all about leadership and what it takes to be a leader and how you lead through service and through understanding of your employees.
We recently had a presentation on teaching kids how to read and lots of changes. Is that being implemented at McKinley?
Yep, we are currently, like I said, doing the reading testing, right? So we have all our kids going through that screening to see where they're at from Tech and Apollo. So they've already gone through that and we have that information, right? And then, so we're going to be taking that information next year with Katie and implementing how we can increase those kids that really need that boost.
Okay. I was quite impressed with the idea of the Friday community school day, or at least in the afternoon. How do you arrange transport for all of this?
Carefully. So our support staff, again, like I said, our whole school is based on everyone pitching in and everyone helping, right? Some of our teachers have their van license because of, like Mike, you saw in there, has been going to the VA for years, right? So he's had his van license every year. But our support staff, our security guard, our BRS, our dean, they all got trained in van training so that we can move these kids over to Madison or the Paramount or wherever we need to.
Are you providing vehicles, or is school district providing vehicles?
We have school district vans. And so like the Paramount, we got a grant that pays for all of that, right? It pays for all the gas, all the van, all the travel. And then other stuff we use out of our budget to get the kids where they need with our van.
Okay. You mentioned Friday morning was credit recovery, while Friday afternoon was community education. How worked that credit recovery on Friday morning?
What does it look like?
Yeah.
Okay, so last year during summer school, we implemented our Schoology classes that are set up for credit recovery. So they're classes that are set up that kids that hit all the standards that we need to work with our summer school kids on credit recovery. We take those same classes that we use there on Fridays. So our kids come in, it's kind of again at your own pace, right? So this kid could move faster than this kid. And then our teachers are there to support and help them understand. So they get to something and they're like, hey, I don't get this. The teacher can move around the room and work with them. So there's no like lecture, but there are videos and instruction within those. And then if a kid needs help, the teacher's there to help them. With that, we're always constantly looking at, what maybe needs to be tweaked, what needs to be changed. But they've been successful.
Okay. You mentioned sending a group over to the VA. What do they do over there?
So like I said before, because of COVID, they couldn't interact with the vets as much for a while. And so they were doing stuff around holidays, like creating gift bags or something. Valentine's Day, they get a little heart bag with ribbons and stuff, and the kids put those together and then deliver them over there. And someone else, unfortunately, was able to give them to the vets instead of us. But understanding, they want to keep everything the way they want to keep it, right? But this last time they got to go over there and kind of decorate the like lounge area space and actually hang out with the vets and talk to them and learn from them and get to know them and see a different culture, see a different age, see a different life. And so again, anything we can do to get our communities, our greater community with our McKinley community works great for everybody, right? It works for our community to see these kids that are like, I'm gonna be honest, we get a bad rap, right? We get a rap of like, these are all the bad kids. So if we can get them out there and people are like, man, these kids are amazing, that helps those kids later in life. It also, our kids sometimes feel like the community doesn't want them, and so they think of the community as a bad rap, and it gets them seeing some of those people like, oh man, I didn't know this guy even existed in my community, right? And learning something new that way. And it opens doors. One of our young men in that video that you saw, Saeed, is actually presenting at a pitch competition tomorrow at ILT Academy. It's West Central Minnesota, high school kids. They're pitching a entrepreneur thing that they want to create, and he made it to the finals because Nick from ILT Academy works with our school and helped walk him through it and say, hey, here's what you need to do. And so now he's made it to finals, and he pitches tomorrow and he gets it, he gets money to start his business. So.
Okay. Every once in a while, I've seen some advertising from my senior homes. And I know that at one time they were pushing for Kennedy students to come out to the senior place near Kennedy. Have you run into any of that for getting your students into the senior centers?
So this is the first year we've done this, and I spent all last summer running down tons of different people, and we're always looking for more. So if someone that wants us to come in, I will figure out how to make it happen.
Okay. How does your school differ from, say, Katherine Johnson or Roosevelt?
That's just levels of IEPs and stuff, right? I mean, our students don't have to be necessarily on an IEP, right? We could have mainstream students that are just struggling. You know, when we look at the kids that come to us, you know, sometimes it's trauma in their life, right? Sometimes, you know, a kid was an amazing kid and they got behind because a parent died, right? And that changed their life radically. Sometimes, as I said, you know, we have kids that have addiction and that took them down. And so we get kids that come to us for so many different reasons, that our school is always working to find the best way to help them. And so Katherine Johnson, you actually have to have an IEP to be there, whereas you don't for us. We do have sped students, right? But they might not, they look at the placement of what the best placement for that particular student is when it comes to our IEP students, so.
Okay. It's the same with Roosevelt, they have IEPs there too.
Yep, and that's, I don't know what age groups that is totally. Journey, okay, 18, 21, okay, so Journey's over there, yep.
Okay.
Same thing.
I think that's about it. Good presentation. Thank you. Oh, we're gonna come over one of these days and inspect your bathrooms.
Heck, yeah.
So we've been kicking that around for about 3 months now.
Yeah, it's, you know, the thing that really brought it up to me is last year when I was like, guys, why are you all waiting for this one stall? And a guy, I'm 6'4", and he's about as tall as me, is like, Sininger, like this comes up to my thigh. Like, I can't use it, right? Because it was an elementary school.
Mhm.
And so we just need to get them something that's usable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Monica, were you next?
Thank you, Mr. Sininger. I gotta say, I didn't know this guy. Referring to you.
Oh.
So, so thank you for the work that you're doing. When did you get to McKinley, and how has it been that change?
So I came last year. I've been in the district for a long time.
Yep.
But I got to McKinley last year. How has it changed? You know, I think my teachers were wanting to get back to what they felt was the community part of McKinley. I think for a while we became, let's just try to credit recovery factory it out, right? And I think that loses some of the helping these kids learn as a whole person, right? And so when I came in last year, and Lori might be able to tell you, I'm like I'll go as big as I possibly can if someone lets me. They were like a little hesitant, like, is this guy for real? But I think they all wanted it. And so when I put it in front of them and said, if we had the choice of doing, you know, a program for this, a program for this, a program for this, what would you want to do? And they met, and they multiple times helped come up with the schedule, asked if it was possible, and I said, I don't know, but we'll find out, won't we, right? And so really it was driven by the staff wanting to do more with our students than just like hammering credits into them. So, yeah.
So there is one community project that I love about McKinley that Al Johnson started. Are you going to continue with that garden?
I don't know. I don't know. It is an expenditure.
That's also true.
Yeah. So maybe. How about that? We have so many kids and so many things, and we're trying to work a bunch of stuff in. So, and that is kind of a spring thing, right? Not a winter. So
It is. It is. Is there any thought among the kids about it, or about any, like it is a summer project kind of thing? So I just wonder what have you heard in the community or anybody about the idea or the worth of it?
honestly, I haven't heard much. like I said, so you get to the fall and it's not really the time to, our engineer staff cleaned it out, right? Like the weeds that needed to clean out. And then over the winter, you can't do anything with it. And then come spring, we're starting to get into like, we have our prom and we have our graduation during the day. And we chose to use our community time so that we classes and stuff. And so we have a few less community days at the end of the year than we did like earlier in the year, so.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your work.
It's a beautiful presentation, and I can tell that you are on fire for McKinley, and I can tell that you really are guided by your teachers, which that is something I've also heard from teachers that are working under you now, so way to go. Before they even knew I was going to talk to you today. This is months and months ago, so way to go. I did not know we had a waiting list. I think I knew before that we're the largest ALC in Minnesota, but what does that waiting list look like? How many people?
So at the beginning of this try, I think we had about 12 waiting. And at the try, we had some kids. So McKinley's weird in the fact that we could have a kid graduate first trimester,
Right.
second trimester,
Right.
whatever. We also have a highly mobile population, right? So, we have a waiting list. So Tech and Apollo are our main, obviously, sources of kids coming in. And so we talk to them and say, hey, here's where we're at. We're kind of full right now. We'll start putting kids on the waiting list. We allow them to decide which kid is more priority, right? It might be a kid that maybe is struggling more, or a kid that's anxiety is really high, or that is getting into more trouble. And so sometimes they move those around depending on who's there. And then so like at the third try here, we had a lot of movement and some kids graduate, and we were like, we'll just take them all. And we took them at the beginning of the try. At this point, we're kind of done for the year, because with a little over a month left bringing a kid in, that's a huge disruption to our kids that are just trying to finish up. So now we're looking at, okay, if this is a kid that's in our district and going to be in our district, we'll get them right away at the beginning of the year, next year, because we will have a bunch of students graduate, and then some of our super seniors will fall off, unfortunately, right? This might be their second year that they're trying to get done, and for whatever reason didn't, and they'll sometimes leave and sometimes come back the next try, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
In looking at your data deck, your attendance looks amazing compared to before. But I don't know if that's because, well, I mean, like the red, the less than 85%, I think, was at 85. Well, no, I don't even remember what the percentages were, but the red dropped to 50%, which is, I mean, the right direction.
Days I feel like it's different, when it's sunny
Yeah.
out, the first sunny day, you look around and go, wow, it seems like today.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. Right. And what you said before, with kids that are caring for their family and making the money for their family, it's a whole other ballgame that we've heard a little bit about here, but that's something. I also noticed in the data deck, the free and reduced lunch rise from 2019 at 29% to 59% in 2023. I think I usually ask this question all the time, and then people are like, well, it's because we're getting better at getting the free and reduced lunch applications, but and because of COVID, we didn't. But do you notice a difference in that population and how that affects your school?
So I think we did get better at getting the data.
Okay.
Are getting kids to sign the forms and stuff. But I think our percentage that could have that is probably higher, right? And I think there are still kids that either don't eat, right, and choose not to for whatever reason. It could be that they're just like, I'm not hungry, or medication or whatever. And I think some of them would if we got even better at it, right? Like if we could get that form in and get them food and eating, it would be great.
Maybe with those free meals
Yeah.
that the governor has said we're having, maybe that'll work.
Hope so.
Thank you. The last thing I have is, I love that you say, I don't know. I think a lot of the times in education, we're like, I'll look into that, or, oh, I'll have someone reach out to you, which is also good answers, but you're like, I don't know. And even to say it to your teachers, like, I don't know if it's going to work, but let's try. I think that's, I like that leadership style.
I'm sure
That's
it makes
honest.
Lori nervous.
I've heard her say it once or twice before behind closed doors. No, just kidding. It's been really great to hear from you, and thanks for your wonderful work in our community. Appreciate it.
Al?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I have a couple of questions that were data deck. The first one, it was just a question that kind of came to me as I was looking through there. I was looking at the number of black students at the school, and then the number of EL students that are at the school. And it seemed to me, just from doing a little math on it, it seemed like about 2/3 of the black students that are at McKinley would be EL students. Does that sound close? And I'm not sure if that really
Quite
matters
possibly.
for my question, but.
One of the things on the qualifications coming to the ALC is ELL. Like that can qualify you for it.
Okay, and that was going to be my question, is what is the qualification criteria for an EL student?
So again, it would
attend?
be, ELL can just qualify you for it, but usually it's our ELL students that are also behind, right? So they're a year behind or
A year behind on what measure?
credits. Like where they
Okay.
should be as like a
Versus
10th
where they
grader
should
versus
be?
where they are, yep.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. The second one was math versus reading. It seemed like in reading, we had some, I mean, I'm not going to say that the scores are good. I don't know that I would anticipate them to be, when you compare to the average in the state or something, I don't know that you would see too many ALCs that had high numbers as far as where you ranked in that. But it seemed to me like in reading, we did pretty well as a comparison. And in math, we seem to be very low. And I'm not saying math compared to other ALC math scores. I'm saying math in comparison to where math average for the state is.
Right.
Is that by design? Is that, what is our approach with reading versus math at ALC?
So I don't know that there's a different approach. I think I think that there are some kids that take the MCA test at the ALC and they're like, I don't care. This means nothing to me and it doesn't help me in any way. One of the reasons we do these community things on Friday is to try to get them to see what education does and what it could connect them to the community. And so, like our geometry and construction, right? They're learning how to do the geometry so they can build something. And they look at the MCA test sometimes and go, it doesn't do anything. Even if I could pass this, it won't do anything for me. Now, when you talk about where our scores are, language arts versus math, I think when students come to us and they're behind, a lot of those students are still in algebra when they get to us. They might be seniors, but they're still in algebra. And so they're just farther behind on that, right? They haven't learned geometry or algebra 2, but they have to take the math MCA, right? And they've only done part of algebra, right? For whatever reason at the other schools, they just didn't do it. Whereas language arts, to some degree, and I'm a language arts teacher, right? If I learn something in 9th grade, it's going to be similar to some of the stuff in 10th, 11th, and 12th, right? I can go off of some of my past knowledge to try to get through that, right? My writing skills, whatever. Math really builds off each other. If you never got to geometry and they give you a geometry question, how do you do a proof if you've never done a proof? So I think that's the other side of our math scores versus our language arts scores. If we tested them where they were at by class that they're in, I think it would it'd be better, right? If we're saying we're going to test when they're in Algebra 2 or we're going to test when they're in geometry, the scores would be better. If we're saying we're testing in this grade, but they're 2 grades behind, and that's why they're here to make up, it's hard to actually do something you've never learned, so.
Okay. Third question would be concerning the sober classroom.
Yeah.
Is that classroom conducted as a normal classroom where the expectation is sobriety and the students that are in it are expected to remain sober? Or is it conducted as a classroom that would incorporate maybe some of the principles of an AA support group type structure where the students would lean on each other for support? I mean, is it I don't know what I'm trying to ask. Do you know? Is it a classroom
Yes.
where there's an expectation, or is it a classroom that is incorporating a healing process for those students?
Yeah, I can answer all that. So first of all, Jenna is our chemical health counselor at McKinley, and she's phenomenal. And she is with those kids all day. They come slightly later, right? They have a shorter day, and she works with our other students during the time that they're not there. And when the kids get there, they do their normal classwork, but they also have group, right? They have one-on-one time with her, and they have a group time with her. And so they have to remain sober to be in this program. They are tested on a regular basis, right? If they fail once, Jenna works with them and stuff. If they fail multiple times, then they can move to our other program or return to their school or whatever. And so all our kids are usually also doing some sort of meetings outside of school, because to be honest, when they really are through the treatment and they come to us and they see how much they can be successful. And I mean, I'm telling you, we've had a couple kids in the last couple of years that would be at the top of their class if they hadn't gotten into this, right? Like, I mean, they're unbelievably smart, and can fly through some of this stuff, credit recovery stuff, because it's at their pace, right? Like our Flex program. And so they can get ahead and feel successful. And we build on that success to keep going, right? We have some kids, when I said, hey, we're not taking any more kids right now, we actually have some recovery kids coming in, because this is when they ended their treatment, like they're done with their treatment, so they're gonna come over to us, right? And one kid is coming to us from another district and was like, if I go back to my school, I'm gonna use, right? So they're gonna come to us, we're gonna work with that school to finish out the end of their year for them and get them graduated, right? It's just what we do there. Did that answer it?
Yep.
Did I get it? Okay.
Yep. So then lastly, it's mainly just a comment, but schools like McKinley are, when you look at it from a community building standpoint, they're probably some of the most important schools in that community. These are the kids who, without the support, are going to fail. And with the support, they don't have to fail. And those are the kids that weigh heavily on a community. They're the ones that turn to crime, violence, and other things that degrade communities. And so anything that you can do to pull kids up, and they're kids, they're not adults, they're young, they just need the support, and they're not, oftentimes not coming from the best of backgrounds. And a lot of the kids that are at Tech Apollo or go to any other surrounding communities, a lot of those kids, they're going to be successful whether they graduate from high school or not, because their family structure is there to support them. A lot of the kids that you have at that school, I would imagine, don't have the strongest family supports. Some do, some don't, but I would imagine a lot of them need a lot of additional supports for a lot of different reasons. And that work is really, really, really important. And I wish the community would understand how important that is. And I wish the community would understand we have 3 high schools in our district. I think if you went out and took a poll, the answer would be 2. And so no wonder the kids that go to McKinley may feel like they're the forgotten, or the kids that, it's harder to have that high self-esteem when you don't feel good about it, but they should. That, you know, and I know that's what you work on 100% of the time, is making a kid believe in themselves. If a kid believes in themselves, they can go out and do accomplish whatever they want to accomplish in life. And so it's great work that you guys do.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, and I think our community is stepping up. As you can see, that list of people that are jumping in, it's been huge.
Oh, and if you don't do the garden, just let us do something with that space, like put grass or something, so at least it looks good.
Yes.
I have a question about the lunches that are served. We're going to hopefully have universal free lunches coming up, but is there a significant difference in the number of lunches that you served during a time where it was universally free and a time that it wasn't?
Okay, so I only have last year and this year to go off of.
Yeah.
No, I think it's about the same as last year to this
Okay.
year. Like you pointed out in the data, we really did push for our kids, and there were some outside things, you know, that the county was doing to get that information for us. But that really did help. Keep it about the same level. I think if we didn't have that stuff, it might be a lot lower. And
hate to
and
see
to give credit
anybody-
to my cafeteria staff, we not only do our food, we do the food for Katherine Johnson, for Roosevelt, for Rise. So
Thank you. Yeah.
I guess I just want to say that it's angering to me that our kids that aren't in Algebra 2 have to take an Algebra 2. Can I just say that for the record? Like, the emotional damage that we do to kids when I think we all feel that, and I just wanted to put that on the record.
I just have a simple question. Do you do financial planning, personal financial planning with these students?
So we have our ESS classes, which are like the workforce classes. They do financial planning with them there. Our teacher that is our focus teacher also did government loans for a long time, like worked for the government on funding and stuff. And so he has a business class that he does on Fridays because there's really not a focus like credit recovery. So we have some kids that are doing a business class throughout the year. And then we've also had some people from the community come in and do some stuff with some of that. So I would love to have more. I would love for it to count as the math credit. So.
We recently received a donation of land over by Westwood, which isn't too far from you folks. Is there any thoughts about making use of that land?
That's a bigger question than me. I mean, what, are you gonna build me a new school? That would be amazing. I would love that.
Well, it's underwater right now,
Oh,
actually.
well, maybe I don't want it then. Maybe I don't want that.
But you're not that far from it. And
No.
I thought maybe you had some plan that you would like to see put in operation.
It would be amazing if, how close to Westwood is it?
Right across the street.
Okay.
Underwater right now.
I don't know. Come with a plan. Tell me what you want to do with it. We'll do something around it.
I just have to say that I think if somebody had designed a perfect ALC principal, it is you. I've had I've been blessed to know Bill for many years. We worked together way back in the day at South, and I think perhaps other than our former superintendent, I don't know anybody who holds such high standards for students while also giving them so much grace. Bill gives kids a fresh start every single day. And I am so thankful that you said yes to leading that school. So thank you.
But I just wanted to ask if any specific board games have been integrated into the curriculum over there?
Why are you asking that? None of mine. I don't promote myself, and I sold that company, so I don't own that anymore either. But we do have on some of our Fridays, we do have kids playing board games because, and I know I've had people be like, that's your community stuff. When you can sit a kid down with a board game and other kids that maybe have a hard time winning, losing, interacting, and they can start learning strategies, but then at the end of the game, everyone's like, oh man, that was a good job. You killed it, right? That's teaching skills, right? That's something that we all learned possibly with our parents when we were a kid, right? We sat down, we played a game, we learned to win, we learned to lose. We learned to congratulate someone and not feel bad that someone didn't congratulate us, right? Like, oh, good job winning, Mike. And Kay's not mad that I congratulated him on winning, right? So we can add those things in. Plus there are I know Mike likes to use Monopoly with his kids when he gets the teacher exploration. And we have a group of Smalley girls that gets a heated Monopoly game going. It's insane. They love it. I cannot stand Monopoly, but they love it, right? And then we have some other kids. We had a donation from organizations actually out of Rochester. I didn't know that when I reached out to them for a game called Magic the Gathering. It's a very strategic game of building stuff and doing stuff. Yeah, so and we have some kids that really get in. I mean, they've really picked up on that, and it's a game that you really. I mean, it's like chess, right? You're processing out like how can you win and how can I set myself up to win before we've even started the game, right? And so, you know, we're trying to use anything. I mean, we have teachers that are teaching sewing. We have teachers that are teaching how to cook. We have teachers that are we had a teacher at the beginning of the year do a parenting class, right, for kids that, you know, if you want to learn about because you have one or you might be expecting or whatever, and went through that stuff. Right now we have a mural going up in our lunchroom that our kids are painting. That is phenomenal. It's a panther and it's got like all the other animals from the schools that feed into us on the side of it. So, and again, got a grant for that to get all the supplies, right? So we're doing everything we can.
Have you tried a cribbage tournament?
Mike has played cribbage with a lot of kids. We have introduced kids to cribbage who at first looked at the board and went, that's not a real game, right? And now love it, right? And we actually played cross cribbage a couple times, if you've ever played that with the board and stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Me too. Okay, moving on to our discussion and action items. First up, we have an action item. It's the resolution proposing named staff for non-renewal or placement on unrequested leave of absence, presented by Tracy Flinbow, Executive Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations.
Good evening, Chair Hawes, Board Member, Superintendent Putnam. We are at that stage in our staffing process where we have to present a resolution for the non-renewal of probationary teachers. At a prior meeting, we went through that whole process and all the work that has brought us to this point, and so you're familiar with that. I'm happy to say that it is a very short list of teachers. It's about a third of what we usually have at this time of year. In March, I met with the new teacher academy with all of our new teachers and explained this process because it can be extremely stressful and anxiety producing if you haven't had to go through this before. More experienced teachers know the drill, but new teachers don't, and so they understood the process. On Friday, all of the principals met personally with each of these named teachers, and so they are prepared for what happens next. And then the SCEA will reach out and support all of these teachers through the rest of the school year too. These are always difficult decisions. These are teachers that have worked hard for us every day this school year on behalf of our kids, and they will continue to do that for the rest of the school year. So regardless of the action tonight, we want to thank these teachers for their continued work on behalf of our students. So at this point, I'm looking for a motion to approve the resolution for non-renewal of these probationary teachers.
Monica? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, a motion by Monica and a second by Natalie. Zach, can you please call vote?
Mordecai Sugiura Schwartz. Heather Weems.
Yes.
Scott Andresen.
Yes.
Natalie Copeland.
Yes.
Al Dahlgren.
Yes.
Zach Dorholz, yes. Shannon Haas.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next, we have the APAC American Indian Parent Advisory Committee Board Response Letter. One more time, last time. Ayan Omar, Equity Service Director, and Donna Roper, Executive Director of Research, Assessments, and Enrollment, are back to help guide us through this process.
Now it works. Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Putnam, members of the school board. We're just here to present our final version of our American Indian Education Response Letter and answer any questions.
To clarify, tonight, we are not voting, but we are signing. So I have the document here to sign. Does anybody have any questions on this? Shall I just pass this around? Okay. Okay,
Can I say something before we do that?
go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for all of your work on this. We've been talking through this a long time and really focusing on this as a board and as a staff for a lot of years. And so this is an exciting movement forward, and I appreciate all of your hard work on this.
Tolerating all of us through this process, so making sure all of our voices are heard.
Donna, did you get a response on that public data request?
Thank you for the question. My plan for that data request is I'll be seeing Jane Harstead tomorrow, who's with
Okay,
MD.
I thought you had said today, but. you
No,
can talk.
tomorrow, and I will ask about that, and as soon as I get that, I'll shoot it out to you. So we have an idea of who the districts are.
Yep, and just for clarity for the rest of the board, it was just a public, we had requested a list of districts that had received a positive response from their APEX. And Donna was told that that they have the information, but it would have to be done through a public data request. And so I'm asking Donna if she would, on my behalf, and it doesn't have to be on the board's behalf, but on my behalf, do that public data request. And she's following through on that, so.
Yep, very happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And moving on to our next discussion item, we have proposed revised board policy 101. It's the first reading. This is legal status of the school district. And Dr. Mike Rivard, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education, presenting tonight.
Thank you, Chair Haas. Good evening, Dr. Putnam and members of the board, and Chair Haas also. This evening, I'm going to review two policies that have come out of board development. The first policy is Board Policy 101. As I quickly go through the policy, we do have a few changes that are being recommended for the full board to review. As I go through, what's in blue is just to highlight some of the things that are currently in our policy. As you see areas that are in yellow, those are the areas that are changing. So our purpose for 101 is to clarify the legal status of our school district. And as you go through the general statement of the policy, This policy governs and talks about the school board's authority to govern, manage, and control the school district and carry out their duties. One of the things that we are recommending as a change is a grammar change. It's in the relationship to other entities. We noticed that there was some prepositions possibly missing from MSBA's model policy, so we are recommending the addition of that. You'll notice that in Roman numeral 3B. As we continue to go through the policy, the powers and authority of the school district related to funds. Our school district can raise funds, expend funds. Raising funds includes issuing bonds, accepting gifts and donations, managing our own property, the ability to enter into contracts. And then our second recommendation for change is related to textbooks, educational materials, and studies. We wanted to add the last part into this paragraph under E1. The school district, through its school board and administration, has the authority to determine what textbooks, educational materials, and studies should be pursued commensurate with state statute. The commensurate with state statute is not included, but it is part of Minnesota State Statute 120B.021, and we recommend the addition of that. The last part of Board Policy 101 talks about the ability for us to sue or be sued. Any questions or concerns related to the recommendations that's coming forward to the full board related to Board Policy 101?
Why is this stuff in blue again?
Stuff in blue is for me, as I guide us through the review of Board Policy 101, because I know we might not review it again for 2 or 3 years. Instead of reading each paragraph, I thought we would just outline some of those areas. So we're looking for things in yellow as being changes.
Thank you.
Mainly for me.
Okay, any questions or comments? It's a smooth first reading. Thank you, Mike. And then you have one more. We have proposed revised board policy 103 for the first reading. Expressions of concerns, complaints, conflicts about District 742 employees.
Thank you, Chair Haas. Board Policy 103 goes through how we work with complaints and concerns. So our first part is our purpose. Our purpose is to accept concerns and complaints about staff's job performances and how we handle that with care and discretion, and also in being considerate due process and data privacy rights. The first change that we do recommend is in that first or the second sentence in this first paragraph. It is the district's obligation to establish standards and hold accountable the behaviors and conduct of our employees. It just seemed to be clearer language if we added that. As you continue through, we have another recommendation under the general statement of policy. Previous to this, we had the word serious expressions of concerns and complaints, and that seemed somewhat subjective to our committee, so we wanted just to have it include expressions of concerns and complaints. As we continue through the policy, our goal for this policy is for us to accept those concerns and complaints that will have conflicts between parties, and that we have an administrator or supervisor who will be the first one to try and attempt to resolve this issue. It goes through some of the other things that we do when these complaints happen, including how it would get referred up to the Executive Director of Human Resources or to the Superintendent of Schools if it rises to that level of investigation. As we do go through the investigation, we know that we want our immediate administrator doing this. We also wanted to add here where it says if further investigation or a referral is warranted, we recognize that some of those referrals may be including the need to refer to law enforcement. So those two areas that you see in red would be additions that we would have to the policy. The rest of Roman numeral 3 goes through how we go through a violation of this policy and what we would do. And then Roman numeral 3 would how we would act on those policies and what we would do for disciplinary action. So if very few recommended changes for Board Policy 103. At this point, is there any questions?
All right. Thank you, Dr. Rivard. That was smooth sailing. We'll see those next board meeting for second readings. Then we are going to move on to the superintendent's report. Maybe. Yeah, let's just take a short recess here and we'll be ready to go. Almost done for the night. Okay, is that okay with everybody too? Okay, we're gonna keep moving this along. There's a wild game coming, so. All in favor? That's an aye. Okay, so let's go to the Board of Education Standing Committee reports, and then we'll go back to the superintendent's report. I think we have two committees that met, Achievement, Integration, and Equity Committee, Chair Natalie Copeland.
Yes, we met today, and we were happy to receive a shared presentation from Kara Rashabi, who is our current Fine Arts Coordinator. And she is going to be sharing that with the board at a future meeting. And it's regarding our continued efforts to grow our fine arts programming throughout our schools. I'll just tell you, it's one of the most exciting things I've heard in a couple of years. So I'm biased because I'm a former music teacher, but there's some really great things that have been done this year and that we're going to continue to do. So our next meeting is May 17th at 8:30.
Thank you. And then Personnel Negotiations Committee met yesterday, April 18th. Monica, I know you've been doing your civic duty, one of many civic duties that you do. Do you have it up, Natalie? Otherwise,
I
I'll pull it
do,
up. Okay.
yes, thank you. There's 5 things that we did together yesterday. Was that yesterday? Today. Yesterday. Oh my gosh, I've been here so much. All right. So first, we reviewed the upcoming resolution for non-renewal of probationary teachers, which we already took care of today. We reviewed the process then for extensions of probationary periods for staff members when recommended by administration. Next, we discussed the recommendation for the appointment of an interim director of early childhood due to the limited number of qualified candidates in the search pool. And I see we did get an email about that tonight with more information. Number 4 was the superintendent reviewed the executive compensation study she received from the Gallagher Group and her recommendations for the 23-24 contracts for targeted adjustments to assistant superintendent and executive contracts based on the study results and market analysis. And lastly, we agreed on the schedule of meetings for July through December. Our next meeting is next month. Surprise, surprise.
Thank you for doing both of those. And then we're doing the superintendent's report presented by Dr. Lori Putnam, superintendent of our schools.
Thank you so much, Chair Hawes. I apologize. There was somebody outside honking, and it was Mom trying to get a hold of her student who is here attending because he's interested in the work that we all do. So I thought that was kind of awesome. Mom might not have because she was up there waiting. It is super hard to believe we only have 5 more Mondays remaining in the school year. I know our spring, believe it or not, our spring is well underway with a full complement of activities. It snowed on me when I went to see Mom out there. Spring with a full complement of activities and athletics taking place. We are seeing an excellent turnout in our spring activities, particularly at our high schools, and are just keeping, if you join us in keeping our fingers crossed for the weather to warm up and dry out so we could actually have some of our contests and practices outside. And speaking of weather, I do want to thank our families. I feel mostly confident in saying we are done. I know. I'm getting the no's, right? No? Okay. Well, I am going to commit to that. I feel mostly confident that we are done with school winter weather-related closures, and I do want to say thank you to our students, our staff, and our families for their support. Our community was exceptionally gracious and understanding during this whole process, so thank you to each of you. Most recently this week, we did the ACT and the AccuPlacer assessment for our high school juniors seniors and seniors who wished to join us and had a great turnout. When they were done, they got to go to a job and career fair, and I want to say thank you to our GSDC partners and our community businesses and organizations who turned out to support our students that day. It was a really exciting event. And finally, I want to say congratulations to Executive Director of Human Resources, Tracy Bowe. She was here. Our St. Cloud Area Chamber of Commerce President Julie Lunning presented the Chamber's Business Diversity Award to Tracy Bowe at the 10th Annual Diversity Conference hosted by CentraCare. Tracy was recognized for her work in recruiting, hiring, and retaining teachers, administrators, and staff of color, and we are all very grateful for her efforts. So congratulations to Tracy.
Al, and then Monica.
I just want to comment, Lori was talking about the weather, and I'm the community weather watcher for Watab Lake. I report to the DNR when the ice out is. And this year it was today, April 19th, and that is 4 days later than the 30-year average.
Wow.
As brutal as our winter was, it was only 4 days late.
Monica?
I was actually going to ask about the weather protocol that you implemented. What feedback have you gotten?
I have gotten very little. Which is great, right? Certainly we always encourage feedback and input from our families, but I think being as clear as we could be on the front end and getting a video out and so actually at the last listening session, I did get some feedback saying that families appreciated when we put in extra explanation. And at one point during the school year, I made a video saying, you're not going to see any snow at the start of the morning, but we're canceling, and this is why. And so I think, while we certainly don't always get it right, I think we did a pretty good job this year. But we always tried to communicate about our decision making. So I think to your question, that was the feedback that we got was appreciation for the extra communication. So thank you for asking.
Natalie?
On that same note, I wanted to say that as a mom of a senior, I've been getting amazing amounts of communication for months about the dates that are coming up. So every time I check my calendar, yep, they're still right. But they're doing a great job of making sure that everybody knows what's coming up. So I wanted to say that to them. So if you hear me, good job.
Okay, thank you. Last up is future agenda items. May board meeting and work session topics will include resolution proposing named staff for non-renewal or placement of unrequested leave of absence. Is that different than what we did tonight? Yeah, so, is there one more? Okay, okay, yep. Fine arts presentation, preliminary 2023-2024 budget presentation, schools updates, and policy readings. At this time, does any board member want to suggest a future agenda item? Monica, you mentioned one earlier, and there's communications going on, board policy and development about your item. Anybody else? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn our meeting. Do I have a second? I have a motion by Scott, a second by Natalie. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nay? All right, meeting is adjourned. It is 8:11 p.m. Thank you for watching. We'll be back May 3rd. Have a good night.